There is a fly in this room and he keeps dive bombing right in front of my lens. It's getting really annoying. He snuck right in when I let my dog out. There he is. Anyways, we're gonna push through. Hey everyone, it's Destiny and welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to go back to my roots and really focus on one of the main reasons why I even picked up sewing in the first place, which is to extend the life of my clothing. So today I'm gonna pick up a few pieces that really need mending. So for today's video, I have 3 pieces here that need some work. This first one is actually a dress that my grandmother bought me a few years ago. I'm super sentimental when it comes to things that my grandmother has given me, and I want to preserve it as much as I can. What happened here was the zipper kind of got stuck on the fabric, and when I pulled on it a little too hard, I frayed a little piece of it. Yeah, I'm gonna go see what I can do in there and make sure it gets back into working order. It shouldn't be too complicated. I'm looking at it now. I was so sad when it happened. The next thing I have is this denim top that I made, I want to say about 3 years ago. And same thing kind of happened where I put it on and then I just yanked on it a little too hard. I need to be more gentle with my clothes. First takeaway from this video is that I need to be more gentle. Anyways, I pulled on it a little too hard on the straps and this corner piece just popped right off. And this shouldn't be, again, too complicated to fix. I just want to make sure that I match my seams as best as possible. And this last piece actually needs a little bit more work than the rest of them. As you can see, these straps are very dainty and very light, and they're just not ideal for the type of top that this is. The gold hardware really weighs it down in the front. So I'm going to switch out the straps. I have a ton of leftover fabric from this piece, and that should be good to go. Good to wear. Perfect time of year for it too. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so getting started with this dress. This doesn't look like too big of a deal, honestly, now that I have it more close up. I'm probably going to start by trimming off all this excess thread that is just hanging off. This is actually probably the original stitch holding the zipper in there. So I'll probably do some reinforcing on that just so I don't lose my zipper. And then let me look on the inside and see what's going on in here. Oh yeah, definitely needs some work in there. There's definitely a hole. So you can kind of see that there. But I think where I'm going to start is, like I said, just trimming off some of those loose threads. I'll probably do like a reinforcement stitch since this is kind of like also fraying a bit. Yeah, nothing too complicated. It's just going to be a little tedious. Probably use like my smallest needle too. I'm also going to do this by hand. I'm not going to bring out my sewing machine for this one in particular. So this is all that I'll be needing to make my repairs. I'm going to be using the thinnest needle in my arsenal. This thread, which matches perfectly. I actually was going back and forth between these two, thinking my eyes were deceiving me. But this thread has a little bit too much sheen for it, and it also in person has a little bit more of a green yellow color to it, so it doesn't really match all too perfectly. In the end, I chose this one though. In the background, I'm actually watching Law & Order SVU. I haven't watched it since I was like in high school. I started over from season 1 and I'm floored by how many seasons there are. As I was filming that clip, I just kind of realized too that this tie is fraying a bit at the end. So I'm gonna make some changes to that. This is what it's supposed to look like, but this one is kind of popping out a little bit and fraying. I don't know if I'll be able to replicate what they did here. Please excuse my dog drinking water in the background. I think I'll be able to do something cute and not too noticeable. Probably saw me fidgeting with it in the last clip. I finished making all the mends that this dress needed. I finished embroidering the bottom of these loops. This fabric is really delicate. I actually didn't expect it to be as delicate as it is, but I had to do some heavy duty reinforcement work here on these ties because it just kept wanting to fray. Hopefully the work that I did here will make sure that it never frays again. Now as far as my zipper area, I'm really happy with how this turned out. I ended up making sure that this fabric didn't like snatch or pinch and compromise the overall fit of the dress, and I got rid of all the holes, so you can't really tell that anything ever happened here. I just have to be mindful of how I zip this up and not be so rough with it so it doesn't happen again. Now this dress is completely wearable again, which is the ultimate goal with all my clothes. Make sure that they last as long as possible. Alright guys, we are racing through the fixes that need to be done, and I can't tell you how gratifying it is. I love being able to finish a sewing project in a single day. That doesn't tend to happen very often. Anyways, so we're going to be moving on with this denim top. There isn't much to be done. I just want to make sure that once I finish this job, I never have to do it again. All that's really wrong with it is the bra part is coming off the main section of this top. It's really not that big of a deal. It's just coming off in both corners, so I have to make sure that I do the whole stitch instead of just repairing a little corner of it. The same thing is happening on this side as well. Overall, I'm looking at this top and not much needs to be done elsewhere. I gave a little tug on the straps and those are doing just fine. Nothing's coming loose or undone. Same with the bottom hem, perfectly fine. Something that I actually really like is the fact that these loops in the back frayed, and they frayed really well. So good. I think it fits the aesthetic of the top perfectly. Now, the only hiccup is that I don't have black thread on a spool like this. This is actually navy blue, and I was hoping I could get away with it just because I want to be able to do the stitch with my sewing machine, but I don't want to compromise on the color. I feel like it might show, and I just don't want that to happen. So I'm gonna have to use my emergency stitch kit, which comes with just enough black thread for me to be able to work on one top. I have multiples of these, which these are just supposed to go in your purse and you can quickly stitch up a hole if you need to, if something rips while you're on the go. That means I'm gonna have to hand stitch, and this is denim, so that's gonna be a little bit of a pain in the butt, because if I would have been able to use my sewing machine, there would have been a 5-minute fix. Now I'm gonna have to use this one, and that's gonna hurt my thumb. I'll have to bust out my thimble. I don't really ever get to use that. That's exciting, I guess, on the bright side. I have my coffee though. I got Law & Order SVU going. It's a good time. I can't complain. A little hand stitching is no big deal. Let's go ahead and get started. So the repairs on this top are done. I went ahead and sewed down the cups again, and I actually did a round stitch like that around the edges so that way I can stop as much of the fraying as possible and make sure that I keep this intact. That one was super simple, not that complicated at all. The denim wasn't actually as hard to sew through as I thought it was going to be. Just a simple straight stitch down this line here, and then another round stitch around the edges. On to the next one. Now I'm going to be moving on to this little bralette. Overall, the structure is doing just fine. I don't really need to make any adjustments to that. I might just trim off a few loose threads that have accumulated over time. The only thing I gotta do is change these really flimsy straps that I have going on here. Luckily, I have a ton of leftover fabric. I'm just gonna measure out the length that I need for these straps and get those sewed down, and possibly see if I can balance out the weight of this top and see if I have any more of these squares that I can add to the back side, and that way it doesn't weigh forward as much. This one should be pretty simple too. Just gonna need a little bit more work in terms of cutting into fabric. Oh, looks like we have a little bit of fraying going on over here too, so I might make some fixes to that as well. We'll see what we do here. Some progress has been made. I went ahead and detached my straps and removed these gold hoops off of them. I'm trying to see in my inventory if I have any more just like these. It's looking like I don't, but I have one more spot to look in and see, but if I don't, then I'll make do with what I have. I also went ahead and reinforced some of the stitching on the edges. So basically just did a spiral stitch across every seam. So I have one here, 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 and that way you won't see as many loose threads hanging off any of these pieces that I put together. And yeah, I just did it across. There's 3 on this side, 3 on that side, so 6 total. Now I'm gonna go ahead and get to making my straps. I actually think I'm going to do a complete redesign on them. I might do a halter top style where I tie it up like a bikini top. I was looking at the silhouette and I think I could make it work a little bit better if I do a halter top style. There's enough support on the back to where I don't necessarily need anything pulling it up. The tie in the front does a good job of just keeping that in place. All I really need the halter top for is adding some lift to the girls. I'm gonna go ahead and get started on making the straps with my leftover fabric. First thing I'm gonna do is trace and then cut and stitch that together. I have made great progress on the new strap system for this top. If you remember in the beginning, I showed these gold hoops were attached with some piece of strap that really was poorly done and was completely fraying away. I traced and cut a new loop system that I'm going to have in order to attach these to the actual top. By the time I'm done stitching this down, it'll probably only be about that long. It won't hopefully fray anymore, and I'll never ever again have to touch the straps on this top. And then I went ahead and also traced and cut the long straps for the halter slash bikini style straps that I'm going to do. I went ahead and added a couple inches of length as well, just to make sure that I have enough length to tie it the way I want it to be tied. I'm still not sure if whether or not I'm going to actually make it a fixed strap, but I'm gonna try it on first, see how it works, and then go from there. I might really like the way the tie looks, but I just need to double check and make sure that I actually like it, so that way I don't have to come back a couple months later and redo all the work that I've already done. I still have a ton of leftover fabric as well, which is really exciting for me. I always love being able to work with scraps later on down the line. I'm gonna go ahead and get these stitched down and turned right side out. Great progress, I'm super happy with it. A lot of progress has been made on the straps. They're basically done and just need to be attached to the main top. Last time I checked in with y'all, I needed to just sew the actual straps together. They were just kind of pinned in half. But anyways, I sewed that down and then I turned those inside out. And I've actually mastered the technique of doing that without one of those proper tools where it's like a little hook on the end of a longer stick. I just use a safety pin and I loop it through one end of the tube and just pass that safety pin all the way down through the tube while pushing out the excess fabric. I got that done, and I also added some extra stitches here closer to where the hardware is. When I had finished attaching these to the hardware, I noticed that they were just kind of slipping and sliding everywhere, and I really wanted them to just be able to stay in place and centered. So I just added some stitches here, like I said, and just made sure it was a little bit tighter on the hardware so it doesn't really wiggle around too much. You kind of have to like really push on it to move it. But now I need to attach to the top again. And I'm not really sure where I want the placement to be, because now instead of adding tension and lift in the back, it's all just going to be up here in the front. So I'm probably going to put this on my mannequin or put it on myself really quick and just see where I kind of need the pull to be. I might have to offset it on the outside a little bit more. Originally they were closer up here, so I think I might just have to move them off to the side just a bit. I'm gonna go ahead and try this on inside out actually, and just mark with my blue pencil and see where that lines up, and then I'll just make sure it's symmetrical on both sides. We're nearly done. This is just my last step here, and hopefully it'll be the one and only time I try to attach it. I'm feeling really good about this. I just finished sewing down the straps. I have yet to try it on, having a really strong feeling that this is gonna fit perfectly, and it looks really good, really uniform. And I figured worst case, if this style of strap doesn't work out, I can always just convert it into a fixed strap and just measure it out. So I'm just gonna try it on really quick and see if this is gonna be the final form. I don't think anything ever really goes according to plan. I attached these straps and it looks good, but it doesn't look the best. What I'm gonna do is actually convert these into a fixed strap. Thankfully I have enough length here so that won't be an issue at all. It'll be a 2-second adjustment. I'm really bummed about it, honestly, but it's my own fault, because when I made this top like 6 years ago, I didn't have the skill set that I have now, and I didn't make it with the proper structure in mind. I'm just gonna go ahead and make it a fixed strap, and it'll look great. It still works, and it still looks super cute. It's just not as properly done as it could be the way I would do it now. Anyway, so you can kind of see here, like, some of my stitches are so weird here. Like, this is folded. Why did we do that, Destiny? And you can see some of the raw edges. When you're wearing it, you can't see it. It bothers me a little bit, but anyways, it still works. You can see here I did the same thing on this side, and this one's actually a little bit wider. It's not that bad because when I tie it, this kind of goes over the knot, so it doesn't, you can't really tell. And I'm working on it. I can see it, and I don't I don't like it. It's not as perfect as it should be. We learn. It's actually really good for me to look back on some of these pieces that I made and just see how far I've come. Also take note of things that I may have forgotten that I did wrong and just put that back in my memory. So that way when I make my new pieces, I don't have the same issue occur. Finished sewing down my new straps and they look amazing. I actually tried it on for the first time with safety pins just to see how it would look, and it looks perfect. So we're all done. I'm really excited. This is the excess I have left from the straps. I think I'm just gonna keep them as is and roll them up and just tuck them away in one of my storages, because you never know when this can come out and be useful. I still have a ton of leftover fabric too, and I just might make something else out of that, so you never know. But I'm really happy I took the time to make the changes and repairs that these pieces needed. As much as I love designing projects from the ground up, there's something so satisfying about quicker projects. If you hear my dog in the background, she's panting. So she's totally fine. She's just being noisy. The next project I work on will definitely be more complex, but the break from those type of projects was very much needed. I'm still learning so much about the art of sewing, but taking the breaks to work on these more simpler projects definitely gives me the confidence and morale boost that I really needed. I can't say for certain what my next project will be, but I know it'll be perfect for this time of year. As always, I'm curious to know what you thought about these projects, so don't forget to comment down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye!